Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to EmpowerED Educator, where we talk about all things to help you teach and lead the way we need in this world, especially working with the challenges that we face each and every day. This week on the episode, I'm going to start talking about big things that tend to be hurdles for teachers. Last week I talked about how you know what you signed up for. This week I want to talk about parental expectations, communication, and pressures because we know it's real right now. So let's get started. Now, before we do, I have to share, I'm super excited about a new project I'm working on. There's two of them. They release on May 1st. The waitlist is going to be open on Monday for both of them. So by the time you see this, I'll release it on Sunday. You can get on that wait list and get yourself a spot. Number one, if you are a teacher in the classroom and you are aspiring to start checking out school leadership in whatever capacity, I have a program for you that is amazing. It's an 8-week program, leadership lessons with Sherry, and it is to die for because it teaches you all of the things you need to know that you don't get in college. I started moving out of the classroom after 5 years of being a teacher. For the first year, I was just going based on what my principal told me what to do, what my best friend was doing, because we had now been in a partnership together as specialists on the campus. We had no idea what we were doing. We were just winging it along the way. But there were some hurdles. There were some things that I didn't know. Now, she was already working on her master's because she had been in the role a year longer than I had. And by the end of that first year, I secured my spot to work on my master's as well. But um, even the master's program didn't prepare me. So nonetheless, these are all of the things that I had to learn on my own. And let me tell you, it's definitely worth the price and the time because it took me a couple of years to get there. So Leadership Lessons is officially launching May 1st. Waitlist opens on Monday, April 21st, and you can get your spot secured. The first 10 people who sign up will get an introductory price of $397. So that's for everything, all 8 weeks. And after 10, then the price does increase to $597. But looking and researching and seeing what's out there, we know that that's such a doable price. In addition, I also wanted to do something for teachers because teachers are struggling right now, and I have to do everything I can. When I know better, I have to do better, right? And I see it, and I see it falling apart even faster with legislatures coming down with mandates and the federal government and all of the things. So I'm going to start a monthly newsletter. The month of May is completely free, and every month it'll have a different theme along with an actionable item that you can use to make a difference in your classroom. The Confident Classroom, it's a fun little title, right? Will cost starting June 1st, $10 a month. Way worth it, way worth it. However, if you buy a whole year at a time, the cost is $75, which puts each issue $6.25. You can't get that. I remember I used to get Educator magazines and things, and I paid, this was back in the day, at least $9.95 for each magazine. Sure, they had several pages and topics and pictures and things, but that was back in 1995 for $9.95. So something in 2025 for $6.25. My gosh, you can't go wrong, right? So I will have a link in the notes where you can contact me and let's get you started on one of those paths if they are aligned with your future. All right, so let's get ready for our episode this week. It's going to be a short one. I'm about to do a workshop at 2 o'clock, and that gives me about 15 minutes. So let's get going. This week, I wanted to talk about parents. Parents can make or break us, right? And parents are scary. I remember my first year, I remember my daughter's first year, and I remember every first year teacher I've ever had. The biggest concern, the biggest complaint was not enough parent communication. And I fell right into that trap as well. And after talking thinking to myself, sure, I do talk to myself, but that's not what we're here to talk about today, and talking to my daughter about it and people I've coached, parents are scary. Now I'm a mama, and I've always been a mama since I've been a teacher. And I have always said, if it's not good enough for my own child, it's not good enough for anybody else's child. And I stand by that. And I always strive for excellence in my classroom. My first year was rough, like all of our first year. But once I started to get into the groove and started to get it right, I knew I had to improve quickly because I was working with other people's children. I was shaping the future and I had to get it right. And if I had to stand on that premise of if it's not good enough for my own child, then I needed my child to have the best education she could possibly have. And I was kind of a bulldog when it came to being a parent. Not in a mean way. I love bulldogs, right? I have a pit bull, part pit bull, and he is loving and gentle and amazing, but when he's not, he's not. And that's kind of the way I was as a parent, right? I'm going to talk to you and ask questions and give you opportunities to explain, especially when I was talking to teachers, because many times my daughter's teachers were my colleagues. But let me just tell you, my daughter comes first. And if you're a parent listening and you're in education, I know you would say the same thing. You're going to be there to stand up for your child because your child is your most precious commodity, right? I don't know about you, but it was my one thing in those years that was totally paid for. And our parents are responding to that same thing. Unfortunately, everything about society is different. Now, you might say it's been just since the pandemic, and I would agree with you in some respect. But I also know this. If I think back to people in my own life, I've seen people that I'm very close with respond to things in ways that I would never, ever, ever do. Even being that bulldog. Not everybody is going to approach problems calmly, rationally, and with the intent to actually solve the problem. I've worked in Title I schools my entire career. I've worked with families that have pressures outside of the school. Make sure they're paying their bills, they have their jobs, maybe they're dealing with custody, maybe they're a single parent and they have to bring in a lot of people into their home to be able to pay the bills and all of the things. Some are not educated well, some have had bad experiences in school. All of these things shape who we are, right? And so I preface everything that I'm about to share today with parents are sending us the best they have. They're not keeping the great ones home and only sending the ones that are challenging. And they're handling their business the best way they know how. Does it make it easy for us? Not always. Is it fair? No. Do we need to, or should we be dealing with this? Maybe or maybe not. That's up to you to answer. But I do know this. As I said that last week, we signed up for this. This is the profession we chose, and we need to know what we signed up for. And even though parents can be scary, we still have to communicate with them. Now, I did a staff development this week with the staff at my school. And one of my best lines, and I've used this with my own staff for so many years, is nobody likes surprises. Nobody. All right, let me rephrase. Maybe it's your 50th birthday, maybe it's your 30th birthday, you're excited, you get a surprise party. But nobody likes the surprises that are a bad grade. Or I thought everything was going well in my child's classroom, and then all of a sudden I find out my child's been in the office 6 times this past month. Nobody likes those kinds of surprises. And when I worked with my own staff, I always reminded them. And when they're surprised and when they're angry, they're not going to come to you. They're going to come to me as the principal. And I'm going to get their version of the story. And perception is reality. Their perception is exactly what happened. Their child's perception is exactly what happened. So not only are we dealing now with a parent who's had a surprise, we're dealing with the fact that we didn't fully communicate like we should have. We're also dealing with, I now have a version of this story in my mind, and it's etched into my mind. And teacher, you've done me wrong. Whether it's right or wrong, whether it's fair or not, it is the reality of this. And I want to bring this up this time of year because this is the time of year that everybody is starting to feel it. We've been talking about grades, retention, state assessments. This is the time of year where everybody's tired. Everybody has spring fever. We're ready for the school year to end. Parents are starting to get a little on edge about where are my children going to go through this summer? Do my children have to go to summer school? What if they do? And what if now that cruise I paid for, we can't attend because we've got to go to summer school? And ultimately, and this is a harsh reality as well, and I know not all of my teachers believe this when I would say it, but I've experienced this with people in my own family before. Parents feel some type of way when their kid is failing, like they now are also the failure. You may work in a non-Title I school, and you've got the pressures of, my child needs to be number one. My child needs to be the best. My child should have X, Y, Z. And teacher, what are you doing now at this time of the year when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're focused on state assessments? It's a whole different problem. Parental expectations and pressures are real. Now, of course, when I worked with my teams, we started these systems in August when school started. We started the outreach. We built the solid relationship. We had opportunities to communicate positives and not just what was going wrong. We had a system for how we communicated grades. Did everybody do it? No. But the ones that did follow the system never had a problem. Even when a parent was upset about something, even when a child got in trouble. That's when I would see my teachers and those families come together and actually problem solve. But now we're in April. 6 weeks to go until most schools are going to start wrapping things up. 8 weeks to go, whatever kind of timeline you're on. And how do we fix this now? You're going to have to deal with it. I promise. And the first thing that I would start doing is make some kind of reach out with every single one of your parents and give some kind of update of what's going on. Schedule times for those parents who have the biggest concerns, or you know they're going to have the biggest concerns, to come in and talk with you or get them on the phone. And document every attempt to do so, because some parents are never going to do that and they're only going to show up when they're mad. But when you have solid documentation, everybody can support you with that. I would leave out of some of these parent meetings, and I always did a follow-up with my teachers. One follow-up could be, you did an excellent job on that. You had all of your paperwork, you had all of your contact logs, you had everything you were doing right, and we're going to get through this. And the other type of conversation could be, okay, we messed up. Now we got to fix this. And what are we going to do? Save yourself the pain, the suffering, the stress, the overwhelm. Let's start doing that this week. Get out there, start making these contacts. Even if you feel like a parent is angry with you right now, send a message to them, a little message that just says, hey, so-and-so's done a great job on something, and find us something that's valid so that you can start to try to repair. You might not fix it all, but I promise you, it will make a difference. Again, if you need support in this, I'm always there for you. Check out that newsletter because I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with it. And I'll see everybody right back here next week on another amazing episode.